What's going on, y'all? Chuck Nunface here. The time has come. The month is over. It's time to kind of take a look at this knife right here, the Emerson Roadhouse. I have carried this knife in my pocket for the entire month of August 2022 for the 1 month, 1 knife 2022. 1 month, 1 knife August 2022. It's a big old hashtag challenge over on Instagram, but this knife hasn't left my pocket. I've worked with it, I've played with it, I've eaten with it, I've slept with it. I have, really gotten to know this knife quite a bit over the last 31 days. And so naturally, I have some opinions on it, and got a little smuts in there. We'll go ahead and talk about it. The challenge over on Instagram, several guys, it was led by Bacon Swag FL, but there was Mr. Fisk in there and Ethan Ruins EDC, but actually I shouldn't even mention him because he bailed on it. Just a whole bunch of guys. Alex from SBK Knives, he was involved with it. So it was a bunch of guys, probably about 25 guys over on Instagram that were all doing this, guys and gals. That were doing the 1 month, 1 knife challenge. And so this was the knife that I chose. So if you've been following me on Instagram at Chuck_Nunface, or you've been watching my channel lately, you've noticed that I've been on quite an Emerson kick. So I decided to go ahead and stick with that trend and carry this knife right here. I'm glad I did. This is a knife that, a little background. I did a couple years back, maybe 3 years ago, I did a month-long challenge with what did I use? Oh yeah, the Chris Reeve knives in Cosi, in micarta inlay in Cosi. And I figured that was gonna be, an easy one to do. So the thing with these challenges that last a month is, it's not so much the knife that you choose. It's just kind of, if you're posting pictures of it and the repetition. I mean, we're knife guys. We like to switch out our carry and everything else. And so to commit for a carry for an entire 30 or 31 days, it takes a lot to do if you're used to kind of swapping out your knife every single day and choosing something new, which is what a lot of us do. There are people out there, I was one of them, that just carried one knife for forever and never even thought about it. You kind of get more into the hobby and things like that, and you start collecting different things, and you want to change things up. And plus, being on social media with Instagram and stuff like that, you end up wanting to kind of mix up your pictures and show off new stuff that you may acquire, or just have some variety in your feed. So it's a challenge from just the social media standpoint too, to kind of make your feed interesting. And so that's like the whole other aspect of the challenge. So the thing is you've got to pick the right knife. And I went with this because I had just gotten it recently and I hadn't really used it a whole lot. And it kind of sat around in my knife box, and I hadn't really done much with it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm kind of interested in using this one. And so I picked it. It was something different. It has the serrations, which is not something that I typically go for. And so I wanted to kind of pick something a little bit different. But before I get too much more into the knife right here, I've already talked for it quite a bit, so let's go over just kind of the specs on the Roadhouse. This is going to have a 1, 2, 3.5, about a 3.6 inch blade with a little bit longer cutting edge. Actually, it's another one of those where if you're going to start the blade length right there, the cutting edge is going to go a little bit below that. And so we're going to have a cutting length of about 1, 2, 3, a little bit more, about another 10th, 20th of an inch more on the cutting edge. And an overall length of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 8 3/4 inch overall. It does have, as I say, you notice the serrations right there. It is a Tanto tip. So it's a compound grind with the main cutting edge, the main bevel right there, and then transitioning into this secondary bevel right here. Not the secondary bevel, but this tip right here. Got a nice swedge on there. Overall blade thickness is going to be 0.125, standard for Emerson's. It does have the upgraded gray precision scale. I think on this knife it is a nice addition, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit more right there, or in just a moment. And the ergos on this and the handle, as you notice, it does have that split finger weld handle, which I really, really like. That's something that really grew on me. It might be my favorite handle style that Emerson does. I think they have one more knife in this style, and that is the Combat Systems folder, which I may have to try to get my hands on because I like that so much right there. You'll notice the graffiti. This has been dubbed the Swayze dog. I've been tagging it Emerson Swayze, basically because of the movie Roadhouse. It's just kind of an inside joke. And so I've been calling it Swayze dog. So I took some Sharpie on there and I put it on there. It's kind of rubbing off a little bit. But yeah, I figured, you got to mix it up if you're carrying the same knife for a month. So I've mixed it up a little bit with that. This knife has performed really well. I've done it with everything. I've broken down boxes, I've cut food, peeled apples, just typical kind of EDC stuff. I didn't do anything really, too intense with it. I didn't have any major, household projects or outdoor projects that needed a heavy duty blade, or a lot of knife stuff, like, a lot of cutting or anything like that. And so I didn't put it through a whole lot of hard use, but, I'm 100% confident it can handle it. I have sharpened it a few times, mostly just to touch it up. The edge held, the 154 cm edge, which is standard steel for Emerson, it held up really well. And it strops really well as also. So most of the time I would just end up stropping. In fact, almost every day when I got home from work, at some point in the evening, I would go ahead and just strop the knife itself. But I have touched it up on my KME a couple of times, at least the main cutting edge. I haven't really messed with the serrations, haven't needed to. The tip, however, I do freehand on a bench stone. And I've actually brought it back just a hair from factory on that one. It's been a great performing knife. I've been talking quite a bit. I'll go ahead and do a couple of size comparisons real quick before we end up ending the video. So that is the Spyderco Para 2 stand-in, the Stretch 2 with the micarta. So it's gonna be a little bit bigger than that. And it's gonna be, quite a bit bigger than the Native 5. Of course, and here is, as always, the Sebenza 21. So it's pretty close to the Sebenza 21 in overall length and blade length also. So it's going to be a little smaller than some other Emersons out there. So that is the CQC 8. Blade length is going to be similar, a little bit shorter, and the handle length is going to be a little bit shorter as well. And then, of course, it's going to be considerably shorter than, say, your Super CQC 15 right there. So it's going to be a little bit smaller than that knife. But yeah, definitely a good overall size. This knife, it's from 2011. It is a double detent knife. Each Emerson kind of, in my experience, it needs to be tuned the way the knife, you need to tune it the way the knife wants to be tuned. And that also matches with what you, the owner, the end user, likes. And so me, it's not a super flicky knife. I can flick it open with just a bit of wrist in it, but even after 30 days or 30 days plus of using it, it's not a super flicky knife, and it never will be. And that's the way that I have it tuned. I don't know if you can see in there. I've got that second detent. I take it, and I did a video on this. If you go back in my library, you'll see I did a video on tuning a Super CQC 8. And so I pushed that little secondary detent in from the scale to give it a little bit more tension on the blade. And I do that because I'm just the type that, rather than have a super flicky action, I want to make sure it's rock solid. Now, it was always, there's no blade play when I was doing it, when the blade was in the lock position. But if I even get a little bit of wiggle when the blade is unlocked, I don't like that. And so I'm going to tune my knives, if possible, so I don't get any of that blade play. And so that's what I did in this case. And so it is more of a slow opener. I tend to just kind of roll it out with my thumb more than anything else. But it can be tuned where it's going to be a little more flickable, but I don't want that in my knives. I want it just to be rock solid, and it has truly been super, super, super smooth. We overuse that term, I think. And I don't want to say it's as smooth, glassy as the Sebenza, because that is just kind of on its own level, but it's not far off. I mean, it really isn't. Those Nylotron washers, when they wear in and everything kind of mates and does what it's supposed to do, it does have a glassiness to it that really is akin to the Sebenza and the Chris Reeve knives. A lot of people will say I'm crazy for even insinuating that, but it is the case. it does kind of work out that way. So basically, end of the day, if you're gonna go and do one of these challenges, in my opinion, when I did the last one with the Nkosi, I ended up selling the knife after the challenge was over. I just got super bored of carrying the knife. I got bored of using the knife. I got bored of taking pictures of the knife. And now, truth be told, I got bored of this about 3 weeks in as well. It got to the point where I was like, I just kind of want to carry something different. But I was definitely going to stick through the challenge and see it all the way through. And I'm glad I did, because I really did discover that, you know, this knife and this style is something I really like. I really love how this blade is lower than the spine. The spine of the blade is lower than the back of the handle, and so it kind of drops everything down, and it creates a really nice feel when you're cutting things. It's kind of hard to describe, but yeah, it's just something I really like. And you know, this blade, this handle style right here too. Of all the Emerson handle styles, I just love that split finger grip right there, where that's where the finger welds or the cutouts are. I just love the way that feels in hand. I really, really do. So I think, like I said, the only other one that I know of that Emerson did like that is the Combat Systems folder, and I may have to try to pick one of those up. And that one has, you know, it's kind of similar to, I guess it's kind of like a hybrid between the Tiger, the Roadhouse, and the 8. So it's got like the dropped blade of the Tiger and the Roadhouse, but it's got more of a blade shape of the CQC 8, but it's got the handle style of the a little low there. It's got the handle style, you know, that's right there, that split grip. I love it so much. Really dig the grip a lot. Really glad I chose this knife. Very pleased with it. I'm not going to be selling this. You know, never say never, but it's not going into the immediate sell. You know, I've really enjoyed carrying this and using this over the month of August. And so was happy to do it. I learned a lot about the knife, and it kind of kept me trying to be creative on Instagram and things like that, which is always a good thing, to kind of mix it up. And, you know, I'm happy to carry something else now that the month is over, but really glad I picked this knife up, and really glad I chose this for the 1 month, 1 knife August challenge. That's going to do it for me. Going to go ahead and wrap it up here. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing and turning on your alerts, and get alerted to new content that I put out. I'm trying to put out content fairly regularly, but sometimes I get a lag. You know, life just kind of happens, and it takes a little time to kind of break away and do YouTube videos, but trying to be fairly regular with it. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and click that little button right there in the corner, and go ahead and subscribe. And follow me on Instagram if you haven't done so already, at Chuck_Nunface. Check out the hashtag. There's 2 of them. It's like 1K, 1M, 1 knife, 1 month, or 1 month, 1 knife, August 2022. In any case, check it out. And that's going to do it for me today. Emerson, Roadhouse, Emerson, Swayze, the Swayze dog. Great knife. Glad I chose it. I'm out.